Namaste, welcome back to part 2 of our discussion. पार्ट 1 में इतना ज़्यादा बड़बड़ कर लिया है कि थक गए उस दिन. So we are back at it. So we're just going to start again. We're going to resume. So we were on Brat and basically we were trying to discuss काफ़ी सारे aspects उसके. And then we just went on diverging further. So coming back to it, because there's one more thing that I want to discuss about Brad. I just couldn't get enough.
So this is basically ये मतलब what we see our curiosity, the multidisciplinary perspective. ये तो सिर्फ मतलब बहाना है. असली में तो ये पूरा चैनल बस चार्ली XCX ब्रैड के बारे में है. Okay, it's just fangirling. So he is like, यार हरिणी मुझे फैनगर्ल करने के लिए एक प्लेटफॉर्म चाहिए, बट मैं इसको बेल करके we will repackage it and we will resell it in some other way. So yes, Kshitij, what more do you have to say about Brat? Yes, tell me.
Yes.
No, I mean genuinely, tell me.
So I was thinking about like what made the album successful, or well, we definitely know it struck a chord with especially Gen Z, or let's say millennial people. But which chord exactly? I was trying to think about it. So when I was going through a lot of conversations around Brat, I could also read about people bringing up recession pop. So I basically did a deep dive into it, wherein it said ki as the world leads towards recession, the beats per meter increase. This was especially seen around 2010, with a lot of Rihanna making a lot of pop hits, Lady Gaga, Empire State of Mind, for example. Then there's this Rihanna ka song which says ki we found love in a hopeless place. Then we have Katy Perry, who was all out with her teenage dreams. So this is basically the time wherein recession pop got to know as recession pop. But if you really look into it, we are not heading towards a recession. So why are we talking about recession pop? Or let's say, why is pop music back? Let's also talk about कि okay, pop music कब से आया?
Did
so
pop ever
music,
leave for it to be back?
Well, they say after 2019, 2024 was a very big year for pop. I think
Yeah,
it is
I guess,
based
yeah, that
upon
makes sense, though.
sales and streams.
Actually, yeah, I guess, yeah, it makes sense because, like, I could tell that because briefly I deviated from the pop genre around after, like, during the pandemic. I started listening to like a lot of like Sufjan Stevens, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix. Like, I went very niche, and I also went I went back in time and I went niche. But this year, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my god, Tyler. I'm like, Sabrina Carpenter, Addison Rae. I'm like, yes, give me some white girl music.
Yeah.
This year, all of a sudden, even I am like, you know what? I'm kind of liking this. Yes. Yeah, sorry. You were making a much more profound point. But yes,
No,
yeah, I do
no.
like
I mean,
affirming
it all
what you
makes
had to
sense.
say.
There's nothing not profound. It's just that we sometimes don't see the profundity in something.
Well, sounds like you've learned something from me, Shitish. The
But
student exceeds the master. I
thank
hope
you,
I
Master.
said that right.
Okay. We were talking about कि pop कब से आया. So it started around 1950s. Before pop, jazz, and well, R&B, dance music, rock and roll was
Funk?
something that was more popular. Funk, yeah. There are like two things which, again, deviating from the topic a little bit, but I feel like talking about it, that firstly, pop music is so young.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it hasn't even completed 100 years. And I was also thinking about how the perception of jazz has changed, wherein jazz was for ordinary people. And,
Now
there's
jazz
this
has become very bougie.
composer. Yeah, there's that composer we both like,
Berlioz.
the producer Berlioz. He has this whole song, Jazz is for Ordinary People.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It So, like before that, jazz and R&B was like at its peak, which is quite interesting to note. But anyways, pop music got popular, and pop music comes from the word popular music, and something which you can dance to, groove to, and well, get lost in the lyricism, I guess. So yeah, that's a little bit about pop music. But coming back to our point, wherein we are actually not heading towards recession, but well, why are we talking about recession pop, or like why has pop made a big comeback? So there's this article dating 2022, wherein there's a economist and cultural commentator called Kyla Scanlon, who coined a new term called Vibecession, which basically means it's not a recession, but the vibes are off. Um,
Ah.
like, and the reason behind
Okay.
it,
All right. All right. Sorry. Sorry. All right. Okay. So I'm sorry. This is just like वो मेरे दो synapses ना ऐसे ऐसे flirt कर रहे थे. So what happened was this actually brings me back to this idea that I've also been observing in fashion and otherwise of how a lot of remixing is happening in terms of aesthetics. Like, if you look at anyone's aesthetic, right? Like, not anyone, but yes, when you look at certain groups of people and their aesthetic, you can't tell if it's retro, you can't tell if it's Y2K because thoda element hai Y2K ka, but it's not quite that. Like you can see like a lot of like comeback, mix match, a very futuristic take on something that is old, and you see a lot of that, and I see that in some sense like layering onto this vibe session because you are like recession nahi chahiye, but udhar come like I want the music. Recession music, let's bring back recession music. Not recession, no thank you, just the music. So it's like it gives me a little bit of that. So it's like you pick and choose like what do you want to like, what do you want? What does
yeah,
your mood want? Something like that.
that does make a lot of sense. I feel collabs though are bigger than ever now.
Oh
And the
yeah.
most random collabs, like Sabyasachi Manish Malhotra collaborating with Starbucks for cups.
Oh yeah, that. And like speaking of collabs, hold on. Okay, speaking of not just collabs, like going back, like like the whole nostalgic aspect. I see like I hardly see Bollywood make good new music anymore. They're just recycling old stuff. And like I recently watched Bhool Bhulaiya 3 and I'm like you are literally doing nothing with the music. Like literally nothing. It's the same track. And I watched Bhool Bhulaiya 2, I'm like literally nothing new. Like literally the same track. You're just adding like a few beats to the OG. The OG is like amazing. And you're adding like a few beats to that and you're just repurposing it. And I think almost every movie would have at least one or two repurposed songs if my observation is not entirely off. Like at least whatever I have seen so far, कुछ ना कोई एक गाना repurpose करके एक extra beat डाल के they just sell it to you.
Or sometimes it's a very old classic that they completely give a modern take to.
Yeah, yeah, that is something that I've been seeing. But sorry, go on. It's just my synapses do this thing, and I'm like,
Um, Okay, too many points in my head.
Too many points
Um,
now.
yeah, yeah. So I was basically tracking as to what is charting
Okay.
in India in terms of music. Um, and something we talked about on our part one episode, wherein we were talking about religion adjacent things that are on the rise now, music being a very important one. Um, for a long time, I feel like I didn't get the complete appeal of hip hop.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
for a long time, I didn't.
Yeah.
Um, and then I feel like I came across a few articles which gave me an interesting take on it. The first one was about the imagery, wherein, well, hip hop has like black roots, right? Like,
Right.
or let's say, black artists have pioneered that. Um, So with the whenever we see the visuals, or let's say even with the lyrics, we find a lot of, let's say, talking about expensive brands or talk about money or like just leading a hedonistic life. Or I don't want to say hedonistic, but let's say a life filled with pleasure, right? Be it any kind. Um, and basically that imagery has been there because for a very long time in history black people were not able to access this, let's say,
Yeah.
probably the expensive brands or the lifestyle that they kind of portray. So it's their way of saying as to how they have control now, which is actually very interesting. And I think there's a lot of power in it. Ki, oh, like, we are at that level now, and then we have kind of overcome all of your, BS that you guys kind of brought on the table. So I feel that is one interesting perspective. And secondly, then I was thinking about hip hop music in general and bringing back the religion adjacent point. So when you look at the lyrics, it makes you feel on top of the world, like Empire State of Mind. What is that? Like you're literally on top of the world in terms of everything, and connecting it back to what's charting on Indian charts. I don't want to bring up Western charts again because everyone talks about it, and there's a lot of data already.
And you literally
But let's say
just spoke
thinking
about
about,
Brat.
I did, but okay, I'm trying
Yeah,
to bring the
yeah,
conversation
just saying,
back.
just saying.
Yeah. So you see a lot of Punjabi hip hop
Yeah.
charting. I feel there are two reasons. First, hip hop ka appeal, general appeal of there being power, and secondly, I feel through years of portrayal, be it through Bollywood films, especially Punjabi culture as a whole, is seen as a hyper masculine or very like power culture. I feel in terms of everything, and when you combine something like that, which has that big of an image, with something again very powerful as hip hop, it gives you an extra powerful feeling. And then again, I feel like it really makes sense when you talk about Vibecession and how you would want to be the dada in your area. You would want to be like hato, chalo sab hato when I walk down the street, mere charche, like just those vibes. And I feel like it's really fun. Like when you do listen to it, you do feel that. You're like, yeah, I am the dada, bro. Like just you can go off. Like, it's my ilaka, my territory, my area. So maybe it's just my bedroom, but it is my area,
Lol.
mera ilaka. Maybe it's just me screaming at top of my lungs in my own bedroom. But yeah, like, it helps me escape for that point in like for that amount of time whenever I do engage with it. So I think that's my theory as to okay, why does like Punjabi hip hop perform so well, even in terms of sales and like concerts. But yeah, coming back to Vibe Session, one of the reasons that this whole phenomenon came into existence was um, COVID happened, right? And when COVID happened, a lot of people were working from their home, or maybe a lot of people didn't work because of like harsh realities, harsh conditions. They lost their jobs, but in every case scenario, people did get a lot of time to themselves, and अपने अपने घर पर, and that gave them a very, like that gave them a lot of time in terms of introspecting as to what they actually like, what gives them happiness, what they like to do, what gives them the most fulfillment really. And so during the COVID time, people became a lot more aware about themselves than ever before. But lockdown khatam ho gaya, we resumed back to our lives. And when we did, everyone resumed back with a hyper sense of what they want out of life or what they like. And it became extremely difficult to integrate back into
Right.
the same working environments.
Right. Fair.
Even though, let's say, we can say, some percentage shifted to a hybrid setting or an online setting, but
Yeah.
well, it didn't change a lot about, let's say, the work environment or the work that they were doing or the work that they might be stuck in. So that basically put people into, let's say, the vibes are off kind of space, wherein they know they have to get with their lives and keep going as they were. Not everyone had the opportunity or the chance to kind of completely take a new direction in terms of everything. So, well, that was, from what I read, was one of the very important reasons as to why Vibe Session came into place. Do you have any thoughts on that? And
I
if not,
mean,
I'll go ahead because I
not
have a lot more. But yeah, just taking a
not
break.
vibe session per se, but yes, I do see like concert culture coming in aggressively, like aggressively towards the end of, like, I think since November, December, and now in January, so many events are happening. And I do think that, like, I don't think I've witnessed, um, like, probably it's just my perception because of Coldplay, but it's not just Coldplay. It was Maroon 5, it's Ed Sheeran, it's Cigarettes After Sex. Like, there are so many people coming to India, and there was Dua Lipa, and it's been crazy. And I don't think, um, like, this is something that we saw as much before this, and it does have a lot to do with, you know what, like people generally want to go and be out and about because of the pandemic partially, and also because of, let's say, um, we have now entered the workforce. So people who were generally studying during the pandemic are now more or less people who have entered the workforce and who have disposable income. And I think there is also like a surge in demand for concert or concert adjacent experiences, which is why this is something that's happening. So yeah, this is something that, like, it's crazy, like the number of, like like I think it's been a very very musical year, and music specifically has affected so many, um like, you can't isolate music, yes, but like the inherent relationship between music and fashion, music and consumption patterns, music and memes, it's just it's just crazy. like like I think this year witnessed that in a very substantial sense of the word, like the impact of music,
Mm.
like
I do see
it was
everything
very
turning very
multidimensional.
experiential.
Experiential,
Sorry?
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's like it was a very multi-dimensional impact of music, like even, like music being incorporated into textiles and whatnot, like a lot of different, um, lot of different avenues where music came back. And weirdly, I wasn't as much in touch with music in the first half of the year, and by the time the second half of the year rolled in, I'm just listening to music almost every single day. And I begin my day with music, and even I feel a lot more connected. And it's also because I see a lot of patterns around me that are connected to music. So it's been a very interesting year for music, to say the least.
I agree. Yeah. Um, I have one point to say about like the whole concert thing. I know some people who basically attended concerts not really knowing the artist, but they attended it for the vibes.
Oh yeah, for sure. A lot of people. Like even my
Yeah.
friend who's going to an Ed Sheeran concert right now, she doesn't really know all. She is not really entirely familiar with his discography, but she's just going because yay, Ed Sheeran.
Even with Coldplay, when let's say before the tickets were sold, everyone was basically like discussing, ki, oh, should we book, should we not book? I feel one of the most heard things that I said, which were trying to support, ki, okay, nahi tum ye kharido, was that, ki, oh, Coldplay concert is like an experience, and there's a
Yeah.
lot going on beyond music. And again, I keep hearing this word like experience, like vibe, very 360 it's going now.
Yeah,
Like
right. Yeah.
it has shifted from just the music.
Yeah. It's a very multi-sensorial experience.
So I have something to say about what you just mentioned. Ki, I feel, let's say if we were to consider music as a very important part of pop culture, the lyrics that go with the popular music also play a very, very important part. Wherein I feel, so music basically क्या है कि it is an feeling extension of sorts. At
Sure.
times, let's say, at least in terms of pop music, I would say that it enhances a particular feeling, you blow it up, right? They say that, matlab they say as in some research related blogs and all, and this is not Indian data, unfortunately, this is more UK, US based data. The kind of lyrics leaning towards sadness has increased as we are moving ahead, which has given rise to sad bangers as a
Oh,
thing,
like Pasuri.
like Pasuri,
Yeah,
or
connecting
like
that to a.
breakup song,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
4.5 minute long breakup song, and yeah, you get it, like sad bangers, wherein the topic is actually very sad. Someone has left you, or you wish very evil upon someone, or you are saying just bhaad mein jao to someone, but it's a banger, like it's who makes you feel like dancing.
Shout out to my
Shout
ex.
out to my ex,
Oh my god,
or
yeah.
like we are never ever getting back together. I knew you were trouble. Dua Lipa is so full of these. Like, if you don't wanna see,
Dancing
what
with
song is that?
somebody.
Yeah,
Don't
so
show up.
this is a very
Don't come
new
out.
thing.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it's basically a very new thing, but at the same time, I was looking at well, again, the Indian charts, and other than this hip hop music, I do see a lot of like uh, I what's the perfect word to say this? Um, like love songs, but very Judai love songs, like कि तू छोड़ के गई तूने ऐसा क्यों किया, like, and very like emo, very emo, like very Atif Aslam genre कि
Can I just
um,
take a minute to tell how much I hate Anuv Jain? Okay, that's a different video.
Anup Jain, oh bhai.
God. Okay, that's a different video. And I'm probably gonna get a lot of shit for it. So that's another video.
हाँ मतलब मैं भी इतना 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 काळजीपूर्वक बोल रहा हूँ ना, मतलब मेरे को ऐसा है कि
Exactly.
भाई,
Like, and let's include this. Like,
yeah, I want to say very Majnu genre,
it's not just
and
Majnu. I'm like, koi, like, there is just one template in which all the songs are made. I'm like,
yeah,
chord progression भी वैसा ही है. I'm like, देखो देखो जैसी बातें यहाँ है, लाइक वो क्या कर रहा है वहां पे यार? लाइक व्हाट्स दैट डूइंग देयर?
देखा तूने खो गया मैं. Like that's from Animal. Like it's the same. Ta-da-da-da-da-da-da.
They're not doing anything interesting music
But
wise. Like,
it is, I feel उसकी वजह से everyone just is in a constant feeling of heartbreak, or like in a constant feeling of wanting someone, because just the amount of listen, the Majnu music that we listen to, and it's all about तबाह हो गए तू ऐसे कैसे की. And भाई मेरे को ऐसा लगता है कि like this feeling that I see it a lot around me कि भाई कोई तो चाहिए. And I know it's a very human emotion as well, but I think it's a lot. Like, you know, I would be out somewhere enjoying, like it's a very fun party, and someone
someone
just would
somewhere
come
will play
and be
Arijit Singh.
like अभी मेरे को इधर कोई होता तो अभी ऐसे ऐसा कर. I'm like, just be there at the party, like, you know, it's like all your very close friends, and just enjoy. Like, you are not as Majnu as you think. Like, you're made to believe that you're a bigger Majnu than you actually are, I think.
I think the most romantic thing that you can do right now, like the most beautiful thing that you can do for yourself and even for anyone you love, is just be present. Like,
So true.
just enjoy the present moment. And when I say enjoy, it doesn't necessarily have to be party. Like, some days I'm just working and then I just look around me and I'm like, God damn, it's nice to be alive. Like, I think there is a lot of empowerment, there's a lot of freedom, there's a lot of potential in just witnessing life as it is. And the fact that you think you need someone else, I'm sure, I mean, you need people. Of course, people make life more beautiful, but your life is not incumbent upon that. I'm like, sure, someone will come along, but
But
the
will you
rest of
just
your
postpone that fulfillment till someone comes? Like,
but life is not about waiting for someone to come along. Just like life is not something that you start living after a given point of time. Life is always happening. Like, you can either spend this time waiting for someone to come along, or you can actually like live.
yeah, and it is also so much about like sharing that time with someone, not like waiting कि कोई आएगा और मेरा time चालू होगा. It's more like कि you would share those good things with someone
Exactly.
very close.
So I've reached this point where, yeah, this, I don't resonate with that line of thought of any sense of adventure in your life being dependent or reliant on a romantic prospect. Sure, it feels great. Sure, there are a lot of emotions um, around it. Sure, you feel XYZ, but I think every day, just the very act of living is an adventure in itself. And it's like every day you wake up and you get to create an artwork that is your day. Like, you get to shape this, like, it's like you're getting a block of clay, and that block of clay is your day. So, how are you going to shape this day? Like, that is so exciting. Like, walking. Like,
Yeah.
I just sit on my Rapido and I'm just like, and it's just, I just can't help but smile. I just look at the sky, I just feel the breeze, and I'm like, wow, yaar, wow. It's just that. It's just, finding a lot of
And
awe in the moment that you are in right now.
the thing is, let's say, if you are passing through the same place, or well, we all come to the same home. But if you really try and be present, there's always something new that you can find.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
I would give a very stupid example right now, but I was just having my lunch today, and for a change, I didn't put a screen. I'm not that clean or anything. As just for a change, I didn't put anything. But, well, I was just like in my thoughts, and then I looked at my fan, ceiling fan, एंड आई डिडंट नो दैट वो फैन के कैप के ऊपर वो फैन का लोगो छपा था and this fan has been here since like 5 years now and it's the first time I saw that sticker. I was like, wow. Again, very stupid example, but what I want to say is कि कुछ ना कुछ रह जाता है देखना, even if you think it's the same thing every day.
Right.
Like, even if, let's say, it's the same thing, you are coming at it every day with a very different set of thoughts. So there's always something new that you would see in it. And it's not necessarily कि वो देख के तुम उसी चीज के बारे में सोचोगे, but a lot of times it gives you inspiration about some absolutely different problem area in your life. Or I don't even want to say just problem area. It sometimes gives you perspective upon something that maybe you were finding difficult, or maybe you were just thinking about it, or maybe you were stuck in it or something. But yeah, like, I guess being present does give you that thought. I feel वो RAM थोड़ा ना open up होता है दिमाग का. And it basically clears out a lot of these background tasks sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. I think it has helped me with my anxiety significantly, and like what can I do now? Like, what can I do with this moment? Like, what can I, like, even if I'm feeling like, even if an anxious thought comes up, I'm like, okay, there is this thought. What can I do now about this? Or can this be tabled? Like, if it's something I can do something about, then I'm like, all right, it's really bothering me. I will set other things aside, address this, and maybe that might help alleviate it. Given, like, as of course, like, setting things aside happens only when I've determined that other tasks aren't as urgent. But yeah, I think mindfulness and being present is something that does wonders, and something that I keep learning every day. We deviated a lot.
Yeah, but again, like a
It's a
very
good
good.
conversation.
I just want to add a little bit more. Well, because I mean, this generation, we are super close with social media, and social media is a very fast-paced environment. Like, you kind of क्या बोलते हैं वो refresh it, and then you have new stuff to look at.
Right.
And then obviously there are people constantly putting out things that they are doing, and then there's always something to look at, right? And so I feel कि होता क्या है कि real life, which inherently is quite mundane, and things don't happen at that pace. Sometimes when it takes a very long time for me to kind of finish working on a video, I think jo abhi hua ki okay, we have been like working on this video since like a few weeks now, and then like it's taking its own time. But I feel like there's this sense of ki okay, like ho kyun nahi raha hai, ho kyun nahi raha hai? Even if, well, the ship has moved, right? It has changed positions. But it's just that it's a vast ocean. Like, you wouldn't always be like, okay, I made like journey A to B complete hua. Sometimes it feels like you didn't move at all today. But well, you did shift.
Right.
You just can't see it because it's not very social media apparent that you did something today.
Yeah, if life in general is not social media apparent,
Yeah.
like, yeah, like life itself, like even the whole concept of time and how we experience it has been profoundly altered because of social media. And
Mundaneness is uncomfortable now. I like even for me, like it's such an active exercise. मतलब काफी actively बैठना पड़ता है कि okay, it's going to be slow, it's going to be mundane, and we are going to do this XYZ activity. Sometimes it's cleaning leafy vegetables, and it irritates the shit out of me because it's just like so slow, and there's like so much attention that you have to put in, and well, productivity doesn't really count for cleaning leafy vegetables or like very small tasks like these where okay, you are drying clothes or something.
bhai,
I wanted to connect it back to what we were talking about, the impact of lyrics. If we look at 2024 ke hits, um, there are some lines which include from Taylor Swift's Tosha Poet's Department album. There's this song that charted very well. I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. It has a line which says, I cry a lot, but I'm so productive. It's an art.
women, I'm sorry, this is women in general, period, and period.
Then, from Beyonce's album Cowboy Carter, there's this line which says, hardworking men ain't got no money in the bank. She sings in Yaya. Um, which tells us a lot about the current socio-economical scenario. Um, then there was this viral hit. I think it was early 2024, around March or May, if I'm not wrong, which went like, I'm looking for a guy in finance,
Oh
6 feet, blue eyes.
yeah.
Which again is related to like deep frustration regarding like finances, which also has, which kind of circle back to demure, which I feel was क्या बोल सकते हैं कि a trend which went against the brat
It was a
trend,
counter culture against
counter culture thing,
brat, yes.
wherein a demure person is more mindful and they just take like consideration kafi hota hai. They are always thinking about how they are getting portrayed, which is again absolutely opposite of brat, which again talks a lot of like there was a lot of talk on the word demure itself, which was on the rise in 1600s, and then nobody used it for a very long time. And at that point of time, demure was used particularly in case of women who are shy, who are like kind of put together, and then but it is a very kind of male gaze kind of a view of looking at a woman, wherein she always has to be a certain way. So a lot of people were thinking if demure as a word trending again, does it have deep rooted patriarchy in there somewhere? Or are we redefining what it means to be demure? Which also connects very interestingly with Nara Smith.
Ah,
Yeah. Uh, so there are, well, I mentioned all this because I all like wanted to kind of get back to the main track, which was about how why did Brad resonate so much? It does have a very क्या बोलते हैं meta commentary on what we as a generation are going through, or like the times in general. I feel there's because of this vibe session, there was rise to that it gave rise to one more trend, which was basically called the big resignation. I hope I'm getting the term right, but well, what it meant was a lot of Gen Z kids were documenting their, not just Gen Z, I would say also millennial, a percentage of millennial population was in this, wherein they documented a lot of their resignation journeys. I feel conversations around work culture and work environment has
yeah.
been a little on the rise comparatively, which again is because of this better understanding of what like every individual wants out of their life, and how can work become better spaces in general. But well, it, yeah, you see, like there's vibe session, then it affects like the working environment. People talk about it, then a lot of people quit, which gives rise to financial frustrations, which gives rise to trend like I'm looking for a guy in finance, or it gives rise to I cry a lot but I'm so productive, and then it also makes us think about trad wife,
Quit
and
करना
trad
है,
wife as
quit
a,
करना
yeah,
है.
idea
Banger.
being bigger than ever. Like
Yeah.
they say ki like a
Vox,
Vox
Vox.
article um, had this whole article talking about how Gen Z doesn't dream of labor, and which again has this whole anti-work ideology somewhere in there, which again connects back to the trad wife thing,
Yeah.
being up and again, which in UK especially, because there is already a big recession going on, there has been quite some interesting statistics wherein two-thirds of under 25s believed that their generation will be worse off than their parents, which again is in the same circle as vibe session, or just people feeling the vibes being off, and then the lyrics in going more and more sad, but they are also banger.
Banging, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's also a shift towards socialistic ideologies, or people supporting socialistic policies more. So this data that I just mentioned was from an article from Guardian, titled as "Eat the Rich: Why Millennials and Generation Z Have Turned Their Backs on Capitalism." उसमें से एक, so they mention a survey which says that more than 50% of young people in the heartland of laissez-faire economics. So 50% young people basically reject capitalism, and even in American citizens, they say, while a 2018 Gallup poll, I'm guessing Gallup is the name of the organization that basically carried out this poll, that 45% of young Americans saw capitalism favorably, down from 68 in 2010. So there's a shift there also. So yeah, this was like my take.
I think the
Or
conversation
one,
was very music centric, and like I said, I do see a lot of, like, I do feel 2024 was a very musical year, and yeah. Is there, I mean, did want to talk about a few more memes or a few more ideas that cropped up. Well, I also feel women in male fields is also something that I think works in tandem or hand in hand with Brat.
I also want to add a little bit. I am sorry to cut you, but it is in support of what you are trying to say. So there was a whole Reddit thread under I cry a lot, but I'm so productive. So people were discussing it, the lyrics itself. So there are like commentaries that two comments that I want to particularly mention here. The first one goes like, this is what a lot of haters fail to understand. It's not always about deep lyrics and poetic moments. Sometimes you need a silly little song to sing and dance to, and one that can you can also relate to. It brings me joy to see so many people find a song that just clicks just right and brings them joy, which again is also talking about people finding music as an escape. And what you were saying about women in male dominated fields, so in the same thread there was also a comment which said that this entire thread is the reason I love this sisterhood so much. Working in a male dominated field, most could never understand, but you all do.
But yeah, like the broader idea that I see is that when you say women in male dominated fields, it is to some sense an acknowledgement that society is in some degree, to great degrees, tipped in favor of, or favors masculine qualities more than feminine qualities. And with evolving times, I see even women not just is there is not just an expectation of us catering to feminine, or rather us having feminine values, but there is also like a space where we have to adopt male values, or rather masculine values, not male, masculine values, or masculine sensibilities, or masculine ways of living. And in some aspects it is irrefutable. It's something that I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that actually joins so well with this entire conversation that we're
Yeah.
having in terms of the album. But
भाई हम
yeah,
क्या
I
डीप
mean
है.
there are so many. Huh?
हम क्या डीप
Sorry.
है.
There are actually a lot of micro trends that again come out of all these aspects, small aspects of this album that we just discussed. But I think that's for the next part.
Yes, I
We will
think this
resume
is a
back
wrap
again,
on
guys.
our first video, or maybe the second part of our first video. However you want to go about this, you can do it all over again. I
Yes,
fucked it up.
second part of the first video. But yeah, we will see you again very soon. I hope you found this conversation enjoyable. Maybe you took something out of it. Maybe you didn't. Maybe it was just entertaining to watch two idiots speak bullshit. But yeah, I hope in some of the other ways this was worth your time.
Yes, whatever he said.
Bye.
Peace.